Hello, witches. Come on in to this pop-up live broadcast that everybody around the world is talking about. This submersible, the sub that has gone missing. You know, I've had my inbox flooded here on Instagram and Facebook asking the question, can a psychic find this sub? And I haven't answered anybody about this question. Can a psychic find this sub? Now, if you've been following me for any length of time, you know that I am psychic. I am psychic, and I'm a witch. Most witches are also psychic too. But can a psychic find this missing sub? No. That's the answer. No, a psychic cannot find this missing sub. But don't leave the broadcast just yet. Let me explain why. A psychic cannot find this missing sub because they have not been given any information. I have not been given any information from Hecate, who is my sole provider of information. Whenever I need to know an answer to something, it's Hecate who answers for me. It's not my own thoughts. It's not what I would like the answer to be. It's not what I want to hear. It's either an answer or there's no answer. Yes, I have asked Hecate about this missing sub because everybody around the world is talking about this sub. What I can tell you are the facts. And as witches, we must always tell the truth, right? Right, so let's get into it. The sub went down the Atlantic Ocean to view the wreckage of the Titanic for a price of $250,000 and got lost along the way. It may be stuck in the wreckage. It may be somewhere else. It may have actually come up to the surface and it's just bobbing around somewhere in the Atlantic Ocean. And the United States Navy, no Coast Guard, actually has submarines or ships or the tools to actually go that deep in the ocean. And it's not just water pressure that these rescuers are dealing with. We know that the ocean is big and wide and still very much unknown. So we have animals down there. We have orcas and whales and a giant squid who is just a mean son of a bitch. The giant squid is a mean son of a bitch. He don't give a shit about me. He don't give a shit about you. If you're in his or her way, it will fuck you up. And with that little tiny stuff that went down there, it's like a potato chip to the squid, to any whale, to any orca, or any other large, maybe unknown creature down there. They don't give a shit. If you're in their way, they're going to remove you from their way. First things first, you might be saying, why did they go down there anyway? They're billionaires. How come they didn't have the technology for being safe before they went down there? Because that is how the 1% is. That is how millionaires and billionaires are. They're arrogant. They have a sense of entitlement. They have a sense of privilege. They think they believe that the world revolves around them, and it does not. The billionaires, the millionaires believe that they are untouchable. They can be touched. Why? Because they bleed just like you and me. That's why they went down there. Instead of doing what normal people do, which is watching the Titanic free on YouTube in 4K, right? You can watch it for free on YouTube in 4K. You don't have to dive down there and risk your life. Your life must not mean very much. And it's a very real possibility that this submarine has met the same fate as the Titanic. Remember, the Titanic is going away. It's becoming officially, permanently part of the ocean. And it definitely doesn't look like it did in 1912 when it sunk. It does not. It does not. And you don't know what's down there. Anything could be down there. Most likely, I strongly believe, I believe that they did make it to the ship, but they got tangled in something within the ship itself and they can't get out. Remember, the controller looks like a PlayStation controller from a PS2. You know, they signed waivers that clearly said, you know, this was, just to put this out here, this was the third voyage of the submarine. And they signed a waiver that said there is a real risk of death. You know, if you're a billionaire, if you're a millionaire, you would think your life is worth billions. Your life is worth millions. And you wouldn't have to go that far to see it in person. But some people don't think that far. Some people are just plain stupid. Even your favorite millionaires and billionaires are just plain stupid. Just plain stupid. Stupid is as stupid does. You don't have to go down there to see it. You do not. But no, a psychic cannot find this submarine. You know, family members from the people inside the submarine are going to psychics to get information, to get help. And those psychics are not really psychics. They're scam artists. They're liars. I mean, why not go to a psychic to find your loved one when you know you have not been given any information about them? Not one thing has been told to you by Spirit. What has Spirit told you? What has Hecate told you? Nothing. You're a liar and a cheat and a scam artist. And you're just feeding off these people's, probably their grief. Because the submarine is slowly running out of air. And when that happens, that's it. It's over. It's over. That sounds kind of cold and hard and harsh to say, but it's also a very real possibility. They knew the risk before they went down there. They knew the risk. You know, these are millionaires and billionaires. How come they didn't pay? Why didn't they think about their safety? Why didn't they have a plan in place? I believe there were 2 billionaires down there, or maybe it was 1 billionaire and 1 millionaire on that submarine, and neither one of them thought that far to include safety. The Titanic is a mass grave. It's a mass grave. It's not a tourist attraction. It's not a tourist attraction. It should never have been a tourist attraction because, like I said, this is the 3rd voyage of people going down there to see it in person. What do you think it looks like? It doesn't look like a ship anymore. It looks like a piece of junk compared to what it looked like in 1912. It looks like a piece of junk. It's going to fade away in about 50 years from now. It'll be completely gone because the bacteria that's down there is eating away at it. You know, you think to yourself, so you went to see the Titanic and you met the same fate as the Titanic. You know how deep? I believe they said the Titanic was 12,000 feet or maybe more, maybe less. Listen, it's down deep. It's down really, really deep where humans can't die and submarines can't reach them. There's no way in hell the Navy is going to risk its own people to rescue 5 other people. Maybe the people did make it out. Maybe they made it to land. Maybe they found an island. Maybe they're alive. Maybe they are alive. Maybe they're not. But don't go to a psychic, a so-called psychic, to get information about this missing sub. Because they're lying. They're just trying to feed off of people's worries and make things, quite honestly, a lot worse. Make things a lot worse. If a psychic knew where that submarine was, we wouldn't be so glued to our televisions. The psychic will have pinpointed exactly where it was and tell you exactly if those people were still alive or not. But no psychic has come forward publicly to say this is where the sub is, these people are alive or they're dead. They have not, because they don't know. They did not hear from spirit. They have not heard a word from spirit. Not hearing a word from spirit does not mean that the people are dead. It just means the information isn't ready to be released to that psychic, that real psychic. Simple as that. It doesn't mean that no word is bad news. It does not also mean that news is good news. So don't waste your time going to a psychic with tarot cards or crystals or candles to tell you in secret what happened. Are these people still alive? Because they don't know. They're interested in your money. They're interested in fame and fortune and making their name popular, but they don't care about the people on the submarine. So they'll make up a nice story that sounds good. That sounds good on the front of a newspaper or on the front of a magazine. Because it'll sell. That's why. It'll sell. You've heard it all over social media, all over the news, as though people are rooting that these people have actually been killed by the ocean, basically. They're saying that the submarine probably imploded at a certain amount of water that they're in. Of course, if you dive deep enough, as a human, your lungs would explode. If a whale, if an orca, if a dolphin dive way too far down in the ocean, their lungs would explode. And they're mammals, but they can do that. If a nuclear submarine dives too far down, it will explode. A giant squid will probably be okay. I believe a giant squid will probably be okay. A giant squid is just big ass squid that used to be thought to be a myth but turned out to be real. But a submarine that has gotten caught in the wreckage of the Titanic probably has no chance of coming out if it's being controlled by a PS2 controller or a PS2 knockoff controller. It probably has no chance. You would think that seeing a game controller that looks like a knockoff of the PS2 would be a red flag and you would not go inside the submarine. You would think, right? You would think. But they get caught up in the hype. Oh, we're going to see the Titanic. You're not going to see the Titanic. It's nothing but a piece of junk. It's a mass graveyard. The floor of the Titanic is littered with clothes and shoes and jewelry. No bodies. The bodies will have dissolved in the water. Animals in the water, the giant squid I keep talking about, would have eaten it. The whales, the orcas would have eaten those bodies. You're not going to see the Titanic. It's not what it was. It's just a piece of junk. One piece here, one piece there, a couple of clothes, a couple of shoes scattered around the ocean floor. That's it. There's nothing to say. Like I said, you can see it for free in 4K on YouTube. You don't have to dive down there to go see it in person. And the submarine that has now been announced was homemade. So it was made in somebody's basement or made in somebody's attic. It's obviously a piece of junk if it's still missing, if it's lost communication, if it's not sending out any signals. Like I said, there's also a possibility that it could have risen to the surface and made it to an island. And of course, they can't communicate. But I don't know. I'm not with them. But I do know there is a increase of so-called psychics trying to tell people where the submarine is, when they in fact have not heard from spirit. They are just talking out of their ass, and they need to shut the fuck up. You need to shut the fuck up. You don't know. You don't know. It would be nice to know, but who would believe you so early on in the investigation of the missing sub? Nobody would believe you. Nobody. I told you just one thing on this broadcast, and that is I believe it got tangled in the wreckage. That they actually did make it there, but they can't go forward or backwards or left or right. They're just stuck in one particular area of the ship. And like I just said a couple moments ago, this submarine was being controlled by a PS2 knockoff controller. Don't you think that would be a red flag? Wait a minute, why do you have a PS2 knockoff controller controlling the submarine? The hell is that? Why are you using that for? What's that for? Yes, so that's what you're using? Why are you using that for? Why what's that? What the fuck is that shit? Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't want to do this no more. You would think somebody would say that. Now, you would think that people would think that far. You know, if I saw that PS2 knockoff video game controller, I would not go in there. The chances of them being alive dwindles down every day. I believe they said that by Thursday morning, sometime on Thursday, their oxygen would have run out. But I don't know if they actually surface to the air. And I also heard that it's bolted shut so that it can only be open from the outside. But then I'm hearing now that it can actually be open from the inside. Whichever one it is, it's just a very bad situation. It's a bad situation. A situation that, in fact, did not have to happen. This did not have to happen. If people thought long and hard before they did things. Like I said, this is only the third voyage of the submarine to go see the Titanic. Only the third voyage. And you would think that people would think maybe this is not such a bright idea. Maybe this is a little retarded. Can I say it like that without anybody getting offended? Yes, of course I can. Because that's what people are saying behind closed doors. This was retarded. That's what people are saying behind closed doors. Not saying it in front of cameras because they don't want to insult people who have Down syndrome. But that's what they're saying. They're using that word behind closed doors. And as the high priestess, I'm going to tell you what they're saying behind closed doors because you need to know the real talk that's going on behind closed doors. They don't have a whole lot of hope. And you're not going to spend a whole lot of resources and time and energy. You know, everybody is expecting the U.S. Navy because it's the Navy and because the Navy is always out in the water to be able to bring this to a satisfactory conclusion. But most likely that will not happen. You can't put our military at risk to save a couple of millionaires and billionaires. And if they are found alive, they should pay every single penny that was spent on their rescue. If these people are found alive, they should pay every single penny that was spent to rescue them. Of course, why? Because they can't afford it. There was a billionaire and a millionaire on that submarine, so they can afford it. They can afford it. They can afford it. They can't just come up. They can't just be found alive and come in front of the cameras talking about, oh, I'm so grateful. Our prayers have been answered. We're so thankful for the rescuers. Okay, that's nice. Are you going to pay? Are you going to pay the bill? Are you going to pay us back the money we spent to rescue you? We don't want to hear we're thankful. We don't want to hear we're grateful. I'm pretty sure if they are found alive, they will quietly pay off the bill that was given to them to rescue them. Absolutely. The United States is going to get their money back. They are. It's not going to be reported in the news, but they're going to get their money back if they're found alive. They are. So like I said, I've been watching it like everybody else, but I'm not caught up in it where I'm asking Hikate constantly for information about it. I only asked her one time. She didn't say anything. And I didn't get angry or pissy or annoyed or frustrated or irritated. I left it alone. Why? Because maybe I'm not meant to know. And that's fine too. But I know that Hikate knows everything. If you are a devotee of Hikate, you know she knows everything. So she already knows what's going on with this situation. She already knows what's going on with this submarine. She already knows if these people are alive or dead. She knows everything. She knows the past, the present, and the future. She knows. Absolutely. But that does not mean she is obligated or required to give that information out if she doesn't want to. That's it. I don't know. Maybe because her trust is in mankind to figure it out. And don't get me wrong, which is our Navy, our United States Navy is incredible. We have incredible men and women of the Navy and of the Coast Guard. We have incredible people. And you have to put your faith in man that this comes to a conclusion, whatever that conclusion may be. But that conclusion is not going to come from a psychic. A psychic is not going to solve this case. And as a psychic myself, I'm saying this publicly because it's true. You have to put your faith in mankind to bring this to a close. A psychic is not going to. They can't. But it makes for a good story. The psychic who solved the missing submarine. But like I said, they are just feeding on the worries of family members of the people stuck inside. If they are stuck inside. Because like I said, they could have risen to the surface. They could be on an island somewhere. Now listen, I know this sounds a little bit far-fetched, but I know you've also have heard stories of whales, dolphins, orcas helping out boats and ships that may have looked like they were about to turn over or about to flip over in the ocean and was brought back up to the surface. Yeah, those stories are true. So maybe they were brought back up to the surface by a helpful whale. That sounds so outlandish, but these stories have happened. There have been stories of whales and dolphins and orcas helping sailors up to the surface. There have been stories of this, so why not this too? Why could that not have happened here? Of course it could have happened here. Of course, if the whale, dolphin, orca, shark did not, destroy the submarine. But you never know. You have to keep all your options open. Even though that sounds really outlandish, and you might say that sounds stupid. You might even say that sounds retarded. But no, there have been stories of sea life helping out people come to the surface of the water once they have gotten in there, once their ship or their boat have turned over and whales have brought them back up to the surface. That has happened. Either because the whale, the orca, the dolphin knew they were in trouble, or they just wanted to get that person in their boat and their ship out of their way. Like, you're in the way. So I don't care if you go up to the surface. I don't care if you go down. But either way, I'm going to remove you. So, we know that dolphins, whales, orcas are extremely intelligent. They have their own language. So there is a possibility that the submarine with the people in it was brought to the surface by a helpful whale. You have to keep all options open, no matter how ridiculous it sounds. That sounds pretty ridiculous, right? That sounds like bullshit, right? It does. But no, that's a possibility. That could have happened. That could have happened. No doubt that could have happened, because it has happened in the past. That's why. That's why. But no psychic knows any more information than I do. They do not. You cannot go up to a person who claims to be a psychic and they tell you, yeah, this is where the submarine is right here. A homemade submarine that's being controlled by a PS2 Nakwa video game controller. That by itself sounds really stupid. And they also paid $250,000 for it. Okay. That's that's stupid. You paid $250,000. You see that pause I just did? I had to think what they could have been thinking, paying $250,000. I understand that they are millionaires and billionaires. I understand that, but it is really a waste of money to see a ship that is just really a piece of junk now. That is a mass grave. I know there are no bodies in the ship, but it's a space in the ocean that is not a tourist attraction, that should not be walked all over, that should never be toured. And it's very, very possible, I've said this several times now, it's very possible that these people have suffered the same fate as the Titanic. It's just gone. And you would think that people next year will go see the Titanic and see the submarine that sunk, going to see the Titanic. You know, it's not enough to just say they signed a waiver or they knew what they were getting themselves into. Of course they knew. Of course they signed waivers. Of course they signed pieces of paper, contracts saying that your family won't sue if you happen to die. Well, maybe that's one of those times that you do die. Was it worth it? Is it ever worth it to see a wreckage that looks nothing like it did in 1912? I think it takes like 2 hours to get down, like 10 hours to get down there. To see something that is just a crumpled piece of junk. There are no more survivors of the Titanic. I think the last survivor died in 2011. In the 2000s, I know it was definitely in the 2000s, and it was definitely a woman who was about 2 months old when she was a passenger on the Titanic. Her mother survived, her father did not survive, and his body was never recovered. Most likely he floated away from the wreckage because he wasn't able to get to a lifeboat. But the increase of psychics coming out of the woodwork to say, I know what happened to the submarine, I can find it. But where is it then? If you can find it, where is it? Don't keep telling me you know where it is. You know what happened to the people. Where is it? Where are they? What happened? You say, I can't see right now. I don't know right now. Spirit's not talking to me right now. I don't know. The vision is fading. You don't have a vision. You don't have a vision. That sounds really funny when I say it like this. You're just talking out of your ass. That's all you're doing. This is the time for fake psychics to really shine. To really, really shine. To shine bright like a diamond. This is their time to really, really shine. Because everybody wants to know what happened. Everybody wants to know what happened. This is the ongoing big news since Sunday. Everybody wants to know. This is like the mystery of the century. Like I said earlier, it seems to me like the news is hyping it up as though they are already dead, which is possible, because when you get to a certain level in the water, the submarine will just explode, and it's a quick death. There is no suffering. But if they are stuck somewhere in the ocean, they are running out of oxygen. It's not like they can open the door underwater and swim to the surface, because they can't. I mean, a dolphin can, a whale can, but a human, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Whatever happened, I do hope they find these people alive so that our U.S. Navy can get their money back from using all of their resources to find these millionaires and billionaires that you would think would have enough sense to not do things like this. Simple as that. If you're a millionaire or a billionaire, you must be a fucking genius to reach that status of being a millionaire and a billionaire. Millionaires and billionaires that you probably never even heard of in your life don't do shit like this. They do not. Imagine telling a billionaire that has never been in the news, oh, I'm going down to the Titanic. You're going by your damn self. I'm not doing that shit. Why are you doing that dumb shit for? Why are you doing that? Why are you going down there for? For what? I don't want to see it. Why you want to see it for? There's nothing to see. It's a piece of junk. Why are you going on there? Oh, I just want to experience it in person. Oh, you're going to experience it, all right. And it seems like these people who went down there are really experiencing it, the same fate now. And of course, you have the conspiracy theories about the situation, that there is no submarine. It's not missing. They never even left, never happened. That this is all a distraction. Remember, these are all conspiracy theories. And I said this before, that you have to be careful with conspiracy theories because they tend to keep you away from the truth. But no, a psychic is not going to bring this to a conclusion. To any conclusion, may it be good or bad. You can't go to a psychic. You can't come to me, I'm psychic, and ask me, where is the submarine? What happened to these people? Why did they lose communication? Because I don't know. At least I'm honest. I'm going to tell you if I know or if I don't know. The only thing I said is I believe it got tangled in the wreckage. And they can't get out. They can't go back. They can't go forward. They can't go left. They can't go right. And they're just stuck there. Like I said, we don't have a submarine that can go that low. Why don't the company that made this submarine send another submarine down there, since it can obviously go down that deep, to find this missing submarine? Why bring in a Navy? Why bring in, we even have the Navy from France. I understand that France is an ally of the United States, but I don't think France should be getting involved in it. I don't believe that France should be involved in their Navy in this. I don't think so. Go back home, France. Go back home, France. It has nothing to do with you. This is one time when France needs to mind its own business. I don't know why France is in the search and rescue effort of this submarine. I have no idea why. The only thing I can think of is that it's because France is a friend of the United States. Listen, go home, France. If you're French and you're watching this, tell your people to go home. Okay? If you are French watching this broadcast, tell your people to go home. This is not the business of France. We don't need the help of the Navy for France in this situation. We don't. I trust the United States Navy to get this done. I'm not trying to be arrogant or cocky, but it's the truth. The United States has the greatest Navy in the world. And I believe they can bring it to a conclusion. Maybe find the submarine or not find it. They can bring it to a conclusion. They may not have the technology to go down to the wreck because they never needed it before. That's a question that a lot of people ask. How come the U.S. Navy doesn't have the technology to go down there? Because we never needed it before. The Navy is not interested in going down to the Titanic. That's why. We cannot use our nuclear submarines to go down there. It would explode. That's why. You see, companies make submarines just to be able to bear the pressure it takes to go down to the Titanic. The Navy does not have submarines that can go down that far because they never needed it. Why would they be interested? Why would the United States be interested in the Titanic that is just a bunch of junk right now? So the only thing they can hope for is if this submarine begins to give off a signal again, or they see it come up from the surface, or spot it on an island, or maybe being rescued, being brought to the surface by a dolphin, or whale, an orca, or another large animal. It's damn sure it's not going to be the giant squid. Like I said, the giant squid don't give a shit about me or you. The giant squid is a mean motherfucker. Okay? It is. It's a horrible creature. It don't give a shit about itself either. That's why. That's the reason why our Navy doesn't have the equipment to go down that far, because it never needed it before. That's why. So it's hoping against hope, because it is hoping against hope that this submarine gives off a signal again, or rises to the surface, or have an oil trial, do something. Because if they're stuck, which I believe they are in the wreckage, they will be permanently down there, and the Navy is not going to go down there just to retrieve their bodies either. That's not going to happen. And I know the families are going to be angry with the Navy. How come you won't go down there and get my family member? Why does your family member go down there anyway? The Navy won't say that, but they will be thinking that. Why did your family go down there anyway? We can't risk our Navy to go retrieve the body of your loved one from the Titanic. They wanted to see the Titanic, right? Well, they did. And now they are a part of it forever. And just like the bacteria that's eaten away at the Titanic, bacteria will eventually eat away at that submarine too. They will permanently become part of the ocean. And no psychic saw that coming. And that's the truth. That's the truth. Whatever happened or happens, because it's still ongoing, whatever happened or happens, because it is still ongoing with this submarine, it is what it is. It is what it is. However this ends, it was not the work of a psychic predicting anything. Absolutely not. That's the truth. You have to put your faith in mankind to bring this to a conclusion, because all we have is the Navy and the Coast Guard. And I trust them. And you also have to trust them. Hell, like I just said a couple of moments ago, we have France helping us with this search and rescue. I don't think France should be here. I don't think so. Because I simply don't believe it has anything to do with France. Like I said, you're French, watching this broadcast, tell your people to go home. I understand that France is a very close friend of the U.S., but leave this alone. And do not seek out psychics. Do not respond to psychics. If you are a family member of a person inside the submarine currently, and you are getting messages and inboxes from psychics that are telling you, I know where the submarine is, I know what happened, but here's the catch: you have to pay me a fee. So I have to pay you a fee for you to tell me where my loved one is. And what happens if you're wrong? You delete your account, you delete your profile, and I'm out what? If you charge me $1 million, I'm out $1 million. Because you know that psychics are going to be charging you money. Especially a story like this that has gotten so big. Everybody around the world is talking about this submarine. And why would people, you might be saying, why do people care about millionaires and billionaires? Because they're the 1% anyway. One less billionaire, one less millionaire. You know, if these were people who were not rich, if these were black people, okay, listen. If these were black people or Mexicans or Chinese people, this would not even be a big story. Am I right? Yes. Is that racist? No. Because it's the truth. Pick up your jaw from the floor because you know it's true. You know it's true. If these were not millionaires and billionaires on this submarine, this would not be as big of a story. How come you don't see psychics talking about poor people who are missing in the sea? Of course, blacks, Mexicans, Asians, of course they go sailing on the seas. Of course they do, and they get lost too. But you don't see psychics in the family's inboxes talking about, I know where they are, or I know what happened. Why? Because they're black, because they're Mexican, because they're Asian. But because these are rich white people, it's a big news story, and it has everybody in a chokehold. It has everybody invested. Everybody wants to solve the mystery. Everybody wants to be the one to solve the mystery. So think about that. That's important. If these people were a different color, would this be as big as a news story? Of course it would not be. Because that doesn't sell newspapers. That does not sell magazines. That's not interesting. That's not attractive. It's not attractive to hear about a group of black people who went sailing and are now missing. That doesn't sell. That doesn't bring in ratings. That sounds very cruel and harsh for me as a colored person to say, but it's true. It's very possible that it could have exploded. It could have been hit by a large animal such as a whale or an orca or a dolphin or a giant squid. Of course. But you know, there hasn't been, when it comes to orcas, there's only been documented deaths by orcas if they are in captivity. Like you hear about orcas in SeaWorld killing their trainers. You haven't really, you've never heard of an orca killing a person in nature. But if an orca sees something like that type of submarine, they don't see the people in the submarine. They just see another object that's in their way, and they very well may have just pushed it out of his way, pushed it into a rock. Of course, yes, that's possible. If it got attacked by a giant squid, I know I've been talking a lot about the giant squid. Listen, I know I have been talking a lot about the giant squid, but that's because the giant squid was thought to be a myth until it was finally caught on camera. It was finally, it finally washed ashore. Oh, okay, and now it's real. The giant squid is considered a bully in the ocean. You've heard about sperm whales and giant squid fighting each other in the ocean. And mostly the sperm whale losing that fight, dying. The giant squid don't give a shit about you. Okay? If you're in its way or if it's hungry, it's gonna beat your ass or eat you. Simple as that. Okay? The giant squid is a bully in the ocean. It's a bully. That's why I'm talking so much about it, because that's probably what happened. If the Titanic is that low, giant squid can go that low. Maybe this submarine was attacked while going there, or it was attacked when it got there. And if it was attacked by an animal, it was most likely a giant squid. Orcas, when it comes to orcas, they tend to mind their business. They're very peaceful animals. Like I said, there have only been recorded deaths done by orcas if they're in captivity. You've heard about orcas killing their trainers at SeaWorld, just ripping them to pieces, dragging them underwater, and just tearing them up. Why? Because they are mistreated at SeaWorld. Let's get off of SeaWorld, but to try to stay on topic here about the fact that people go into psychics to solve this mystery, and psychics cannot solve this mystery. And this is coming from a real life psychic. No, I don't have a definitive answer. I only have an educated guess. I'm not seeing no vision. I'm not having any dreams. It's not keeping me up at night. I'm not falling out by the spirit and getting information. I only have an educated guess. And that is, it did make it to the wreckage and it got stuck. I don't know how that even happens. Maybe if they were not using a knockoff of a PS2 video game controller. I mean, shit. You couldn't even get a PS5 controller? You had to go back to 2002, 2003 and get a controller? What the fuck is that shit? And I'm sure the passengers saw that controller before it went in the water, and not one of them said maybe this is not a good idea. But they did not say that because they wanted to get their money's worth. And the most ironic thing is most likely they did get their money's worth by being a part of the Titanic permanently. Because no Navy is going down. No Navy can go down there to bring it back to the surface. They can only hope that it resurfaces before their oxygen runs out on Thursday. And that is not going to be predicted accurately by a psychic. I'm not discrediting psychics because I'm a psychic, and there are some fantastic, real, genuine, authentic, anointed, and appointed psychics by Ikase out here, but none of them are saying We know what happened. This is what happened. Trust me. Listen to me. I know what's better. I know what happened. I know what happened with the submarine. I know where it is. I know how to get it out. No real, authentic, anointed, or appointed by Hecate psychic is saying that. Because it's not true. It's a lie. It's a lie. Everybody wants to be the one to solve this mystery, but what do the mystery solver get out of it besides 15 minutes of fame? Do you think the submarine is going to surface at Coney Island? At the Hudson River? It's not. It's off the coast of Newfoundland, in the middle of the Atlantic. It's not, you will not see it come out of the waters of Coney Island or the Hudson River in New York. You will not. It should find a way to go forward out of the ship, because that's what I believe it is, and find an island. Because I believe they can open it from the inside. How could you not be able to open it from the inside? Why would it be bolted shut? So you mean to tell me that it can come to the surface, but it can't come out unless somebody from the outside opens it? Are you stupid? That doesn't make sense. How's that happen? Why would you design it that way if it really is that way? Why would you design it that way? What the fuck are you talking about? What's that mean? Why would you do that? And why are you using this type of controller? You couldn't find a PS5 controller? Too much money? So you had to buy a PS2 controller for $29.99? And now you have psychics out here trying to get a bag, trying to make a buck, trying to become famous, and saying, I know this, I know that, but they never produce any evidence. Where is the evidence? Don't keep telling me what you know. Don't tell me what you would like to happen. That doesn't do anything for me. If I have a family member that's in a submarine. So beware of psychics. Beware of psychics surrounding this particular story of this missing submarine. Be aware of them. Because they are working overtime now. They're working overtime now. And you don't want to get scammed. You do not want to get scammed because they are definitely going to charge you money. Of course they are. They're not going to release that information for free. They're not going to release that information for free. You want some cha-ching. Where's the money at? And they'll take the money, then give you the answer. With no refunds. That's how you know they're lying. That's how you know they're lying. A psychic should know the past, the present, and the future. Not so much current events that is trending. Just like the psychics who came out when New York was covered in this orange smoke about 2 weeks ago. They're coming back. These fake scam artists who are not psychics coming back. So no, this mystery of this missing submarine is not going to be solved by a psychic. It's going to be solved by mankind. Put your faith in mankind. Put your faith in our Navy. Put your faith in the France Navy that's currently helping us out too. Even though they should not be helping us out. They should mind their business. So I wanted to come on here and just address this because it needs to be addressed. We have to address the elephant in the room, which is the fake psychic, the scam artist, really, the liar, really. Because they're out and about in abundance. Lying, saying they know what happened to this submarine, and they do not. And you need to be aware of that. You need to hear from a real psychic, a real high priestess, anointed or appointed by the queen, which is Hikase. You need to know the truth. I told you what I believe. Everything I said was an educated guess. That means there has to be some thoughts behind it. There has to be, you can tell that this person was thinking before they said anything. Basically, you can tell that I wasn't talking out of my ass. That's true. I gave educated guesses. Some of them, like with the sea animals, were really outlandish, but like I said, there has been stories of sea life helping people out in dangerous situations in the ocean. So thank you, witches, for joining me for this live public broadcast that needed to be said. Unfiltered, uncensored, not sugar-coated, not beaten around the bush, just the truth. Educated guesses, being logical, and making you aware of the fake psychics that are now out hurting these families even more with their fake ass psychic readings about what happened or what is happening or what is to follow. Because like I said, a psychic must know the past, the present, and the future. They can't have just one. They have to have all three to be a psychic. That's how you know they were anointed and appointed. That you know they are the devotee of the Queen of Witches, Hikate. So of course I will leave this up for the replay if you came on late so that you can watch it whenever you have time. Do share this broadcast because it was long, but it was strong and informative with a little bit of humor thrown in, and very much needed during these uncertain times of the submarine that has captured the world's attention. So with that being said, witches, thank you again for joining me, and I now release you into the rest of your evening. Bye, everyone.